I would have an idea of something that I wanted to make, an end table or a small coffee table. I would make it and list it, then people would start requesting something completely custom. You need to find a way to differentiate and be distinct because people are looking for something very unique. When I'm doing high-end work, more of that price is from the value of the artmanship as opposed to a correlation to the materials. It's really validating to have somebody pay their money for something that started in my head and now exists in reality.
Tell us where you're at, exactly what it is that you do. Give everybody who's maybe just listening and can't see, who's tuning in on the podcast only, just a snapshot of what your business is.
Well, I have a handmade furniture business. I'm located outside of Asheville, North Carolina, in the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains. We have a property on a little over 1 acre, surrounded by horses, a creek, beautiful surroundings, and this is where we make our craft. Make coffee tables, dining tables, all sorts of tables that we ship all over the country. We ship to all 50 states, and I've been running this business for about 9 years now.
Wow, that is incredible. Tell us how that even began. Is this a family craft that's been passed down through generations? Where did you discover your passion for what you do?
No one else in my family does woodworking or furniture making. It came about really because since childhood, I've loved working with my hands. And I discovered wood when I moved to the area, moved into my new home, and discovered that the furniture that was there when we were shopping around wasn't going to be there when I actually got the house. So the house was empty. I needed to furnish it and couldn't quite find what I wanted to put in there. And one day I decided to try my hand at making a couple end tables. And that is where I caught the bug. I fell in love with the process. Over time, I grew deeper into the craft, turned my 300 square foot garage into my workshop, and over time grew deeper and deeper into it, using all my extra time to learn more and to build things up until I started my business in 2017. It was 2015 when I started woodworking. And from
Mm,
2017 till today, I've just been growing deeper into the craft and selling to clients all over the country.
that's incredible. What were you doing previous to that? Had you had any entrepreneurship experience? Were you working a 9 to 5? Like, where was life before you discovered the craft? And then let's work our way into that transition where this became the full time thing. But yeah, give us an idea. Because a lot of people listening are in that
Mm.
stage where they have an idea, they maybe have discovered something that they're good at, they're working a 9 to 5, maybe they're still in school. So give us a little snapshot into what your life looked like in those early
Okay.
days.
I believe that I'm in a unique position to share with people like this about my journey because I have built this business while working a full time job. I graduated with an engineering degree, and that led me to seek out employment at an engineering company. And so while working there, that's when I discovered woodworking and fell in love with it. So while I was working at the corporate job, I was also working on my craft. Now, today, I actually still have my corporate job and I am working on my craft as well. But my craft is not a side hustle, it's truly a fully functioning, really full time job. But there are some unique things that I've put into place that I'm sure we'll get into deeper into the podcast that have allowed me to grow this at the same time. My ultimate goal is for it to be my sole, the only thing that I do. But as we'll talk about, there are challenges along the way. The audience, I'm sure, knows about this, but they are
Hmm.
surmountable. So I'm excited to share more about that.
Yeah. So you started discovering that you had this passion for the craft. And what did that look like as you started to sell?
Mhm.
Like beyond making things for yourself, what were those first steps that you took to actually make it profitable?
Yes. I started selling on Etsy. Etsy is a great platform for craft sellers, for people making handmade items. And I started off making small items actually for sale on Etsy, such as wooden
Mm.
jewelry, cutting boards, things like that. Then over time, people started requesting larger and larger pieces, coffee tables, etc. And as people would request custom items, I would then photograph them and list them on my site. And it just grew organically until I had a nice portfolio of work that I was able to
Mm.
share with people. So that's what got me selling items. And it's just really validating to have somebody pay their money for something that started in my head and now exists in reality.
Yeah. It feels like such a leap to go from small pieces, wooden jewelry, all the way to coffee tables. So, was that literally just feedback from people saying, oh my gosh, I love this piece. I would love something even more significant? Or was that kind of you seeing a gap in the marketplace too and saying, hey, because you started even discovering your passion for that by making some bigger
Mhm.
pieces, bigger than wooden
Yeah.
jewelry. So talk to me a little bit more about that because it would feel to me like it's a totally different audience that wants an end table or a coffee
Mhm.
table than wants some wooden
Yes, you're
earrings.
exactly right. So it was actually some experimentation that started that transition. I would have an idea of something that I wanted to make, an end table or a small coffee table, and I would make it and list it, and that's how that started. Then people would start requesting variations, bigger sizes, something completely custom. So it's a mixture of
Mm,
a combination of my experimenting and sharing it with the world and people asking me for specific items.
mm. So tell me a little bit about that audience because I know that a lot of people who create, who sell on Etsy or just have physical products, they're creating for the masses. You know, it's not that they're trying to create low quality things. Obviously, we want things to be high quality, but there's a total difference between a product that you're selling over and over again, like a t shirt or even some jewelry, right? That's still handmade, but it can be produced a little
Mhm.
quicker versus something that's custom, even where you're getting those custom orders. So, what was it like to discover that niche of person who's willing to go spend a little bit of a higher price for a custom made
Mhm.
piece than going to like TJ
Yeah.
Maxx, right? And buying an end
Yes.
table. Tell me how you fell into that. Was it market research? Was it just, oh wow, there's this whole subset of people that exists and what that's looked like to sell to those types of
Yeah.
people?
It's been really fascinating because initially I thought that it was a certain type of audience that would buy my pieces
Mm,
on Etsy, and I assumed that I had to stay within a certain price range. And what I've realized is that I was truly limiting myself because there are people who seek out high end work on Etsy. And over time, this phenomenon has developed where interior designers actually source some of their pieces from Etsy. And some of these designers have found me over the years and we would make that initial piece for them, then a relationship would grow from that, and we'd be able to deal directly with each other after the fact. There's one interior
mm,
designer just a few weeks ago whose client reached out to me and is having me make some custom stools, custom stools for her at a very high price point, a price point
mm,
you wouldn't imagine would exist on Etsy, but there are people who would buy those kind of items on Etsy. You just have to present yourself well. You have to be able to market yourself well as a high-end seller if that's what you want to do. And it's all about the
mm.
image.
Yeah. So did you understand that going in or did you evolve over time to recognize oh, I can actually position this a little differently and not be in there with the masses selling just another piece. And then what did that look like from a marketing standpoint? Was the presentation a little bit better? Tell me how you present more high end to people to stand out so that they know, oh, yes, I'm getting something high
Hmm.
quality.
That's a great question. It's definitely been an organic evolution over time, and that evolution has happened in my designs as well. Whereas initially, before, my designs were more variation of what was already existing out there, because naturally, as you're
Mm,
looking to see what the playing field looks like, you start to mimic some aspects, not copying, but if everybody's doing a certain style, you make your designs that are within that style. And I was finding myself following that path and it put a threshold over where I could go with my
mm,
work. And what was happening was people would come to me and say, "Hey, I like this, but can you go lower on the price?" Or they'll come
mm,
with a design and say, "Hey, can you make this?" I give them the price and I don't hear anything, which showed me that these are people who are shopping around for the lowest price, which is not what I want. And if you want to do high-end work, you certainly don't want to cater to those kind of clients. So the way
Mm.
that I position myself to appeal to the high-end clients is imagery. All my imagery has to be spot on when I'm photographing my work. The lighting needs to be good, needs to evoke high end. Of course, my work
Mhm.
needs to evoke that it's high end. And how I talk about my pieces, the confidence with which I talk about them, really trying to connect with what those clients care about and what their concerns are, and try to make my voice, my writing, speak to that.
Yeah. Oh, that's so fascinating. And I've noticed that too. I can definitely agree because I went to your Instagram account. The imagery is really beautiful. There is a presentation that's there where you're valuing the product a little differently than somebody who's putting up the mass produced. And those are really important lessons for everybody to listen to. And it's not saying that high end is the
Right.
only way, but a lot of times when you're in that category where you're not, I call it like the category of
Hmm.
one, right? You're setting yourself up as something completely different. But when you're in there with the masses, it is going to be a race to the
Yeah.
bottom in terms of pricing, and you just have to find like something that can make you set you
Hmm.
apart. But if you step out of that and you're thinking in terms of what's my personal best or what presentation do I want to have, you now have sky's the limit
Exactly.
pricing, and that's where you have the people reaching out because they're not trying to shop around for the cheapest. They want to find the highest quality. And that's a good lesson of consumer
Yeah.
behavior. There are always going to be people who want to save money, but there's this subset of people that want the clout or the excitement over having something that's one of a
Hmm.
kind, something that they can tell their friends, oh my goodness, I ordered this custom
Hmm.
piece. It's made by this incredible designer, this incredible craftsman. And so it's just knowing exactly who you're selling to so that you can position your marketing properly and not wondering why my high end stuff
Yeah.
isn't selling to the
Yeah. Yeah.
masses.
Yeah. And Kirsten, I'd say that this thing that you just talked about is the one thing that has transformed my business in the past couple years. And I point to a
Mm.
lunch meeting that I had with another furniture maker in the area who is high end. His coffee table's baseline price starts at around $30,000 and goes up from there. Yeah,
Wow.
and his dining tables, tens of thousands more. So he's very high end, very, I call him elite, an elite, not in a bad way, but in a good way for sure. But in this meeting I had with him, I've had several meetings, and what he really emphasized is that you need to find a way to differentiate and be distinct. And similar to what you said, when you're able to do that, you're able to command the price that you desire. And so one day I showed him one of my designs, and he kind of nodded his head, but then said, "Hey, I feel like this shape wants to go in a different way. It wants to," basically was saying, "Why don't you continue the thought?" It's like you designed it, you made it, but you didn't finish your thought. And
Mm.
that has stuck with me till today. That was over a year ago. And I took my design back to the drawing board and realized that, yeah, if I made these tweaks, it suddenly came alive. And this design now is one of our most popular designs. And when people look at it, they just say, "There's something about this that is just amazing. I can't put my finger on it." And it's completing the thought and digging down into who I am as an artist and how do I
Mm.
reflect that in my work. Whereas before, again, I was following along with the themes, the trends, and trying to catch the trends. But you don't want to just be a trend follower. You want to make your own path. If you're an artist, if you're trying to do the high end, because like you said, people are looking for something very unique. And they typically want to tell others about it. They want to, this is something that I couldn't process, I still can't conceive of, is that oftentimes they want to tell people about how much money they spent on the piece.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not how I live, but there are people out there that's how they are. But it's not something to be afraid of, because when I look at the work that I do and how much time it takes, and this is time of my life that I'm not getting back, that yeah, I need to not charge exorbitantly, but charge what it's worth, because it's real
Mm.
sweat, blood, and tears. Yeah, tears sometimes that go into this
Mm-hmm.
work.
Well, and it's
Yes.
artistry. I think that's something that can be really important for entrepreneurs to learn, especially when you're in those early times of you're thinking, okay, how do I pay the bills? How do I actually just make this a
Mhm.
profitable business? And I think sometimes we sacrifice the unique capacity that we have, maybe the artistry in which we would approach any business, and we treat that like it's oh, that's like the least important thing. We just have to create something that's, a little more logic driven. And hearing you talk, I'm thinking, well, yes, of course that should command a higher price because you didn't just put time into
Mhm.
it. You put intention, you put the gifts that you were
Yeah.
given and blessed with into that. And there is something that connects with consumers. There is something that will feel really good. For me, when I offer coaching
Mm.
services, it's not because my method is the best
Mm.
method, right? It's because they feel something from the passion in which I put into the way that I present it. And so that can be evident in any type of business, any type of product that you're promoting. And it's something that I don't think we talk enough
Mhm.
about. We talk a lot about the numbers and the strategy, which we'll talk about
Mhm.
too. But that's a really powerful thing. And I think something unique about this conversation, seeing how you are a creative, you're an artist, and it's woodworking and it's art and it's so many things. It's not just selling a table. And that also, again, in our marketing message, you're not just selling a piece of furniture, you're selling a statement piece. You're selling something that helps people feel something, stand out, a unique
Mhm.
experience. And that is the thing that should command a higher
Yeah.
price. So I love that. It's super
Yeah, yeah,
cool.
yeah. Oh, perfect.
Amazing. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of those nitty gritty things. Your wife does this business
Mhm.
with you,
Oh, yes.
correct? Okay.
Yes.
So how did this all come in? Because I know even some of your pieces are inspired by like your
Mhm.
culture, different. I was just kind of skimming over like the Instagram account and the way you guys work together. So share some of what that has looked like with you guys. Because has that contributed to the artistry? Is that where the thought continuation
Yeah.
comes from? Is I have a totally different life perspective and I'm going to infuse that into my design?
Exactly. Yes. So I got married a little over 2 years ago, and my wife is from Ghana, West Africa. My father's
Mm,
also from Ghana, but I was born in the States. Um, Before, my work was not really speaking to my cultural heritage, and that's something that was missing and something very valuable because there are people out there who would love to have something unique and different to say about the art or the work that they do.
mm-hmm.
They crave some kind of cultural connection, and I have it. And I wasn't realizing that it's something that I could really lean into. But when my wife came into the picture, that became more and more evident to me. And that's something that we were able to dig into together. But besides that, my wife has been incredibly instrumental in helping the business to be more robust. We work together closely on the front end aspects of things, talking about the numbers. We do pricing together. Prior to her, my pricing was off. I was underpricing things and it snowballed into so many issues. And, but when she came into picture, she challenged me on how I was pricing and helped me to
Mm,
discover that I was leaving so much money on the table and I was catering to the wrong audience. And she has just opened up a horizon that I didn't even know exist. So working together with her has been huge, and I'm incredibly grateful for her. She's also a creative. She's a fashion designer,
mm,
and that has been a journey for her as well that I've gotten to draw out of her. Because prior to our marriage, she was interested in clothing, but she was just reselling clothing. But as we grew as entrepreneurs, she got deeper, or she discovered that she liked to sew and grew into fashion design. So we feed off of each other as creatives on the business side, and it's just been all around a great experience working together with my wife.
yeah. I can almost hear the conversations that might have happened between you as someone who has also a marriage where we're both entrepreneurs. And I'm sure there's moments where she's, hey, you need to charge your worth and you need to up these prices and their strategy. And then hearing herself be like, I need to do these things too.
Exactly.
This is all
It's
applicable.
exactly what happened.
Yep. You can dish it out, but at some point have to hear what you're saying and acknowledge, oh man, I should probably be honoring my creativity too and building something that's substantial and not just churning out
Mhm,
products, right? Like you
mhm.
used to. So as you've done this, as you've increased price, I just want to talk a little bit because I think we've done a pretty good job of conveying that value is not just in the piece of wood, right? And this goes to, of course, any offer. It's not just on the materials. A piece of paper is not worth much, but you put words on it, you sell it as a book. That could be invaluable. It can make somebody millions of dollars. So value is in the eye of the beholder in many ways. But for you as a craftsman, where there is actual material
Mm.
involved, do the expenses go up much? Like, where does your output have to change with with expenses, the product, the time when you are commanding those higher prices? I know custom means like there's probably more
Yeah.
time going into it, but even as you've upped your value, how much of that has really made expenses go higher?
That's a great question. In some cases, there is a direct connection because, for example, the piece that we're talking about before the call, it's a coffee table, a large coffee table that's going to Idaho. And it's a very substantial piece. It's actually the heaviest coffee table we've made because it's solid oak, a very thick top,
Mm,
big, thick legs. It's over 400 pounds and it's going to
wow.
Idaho. Now, with this piece, I had to be very selective with the lumber that I used. So I had to go to a more expensive supplier because I wanted a specific grade of oak. And considerations like that come into play more with the high end work that we do. We have to make sure we're using premium materials through and through. But at the same time, when I'm doing a high-end work, more of that price is from the value of the artmanship of the piece, as opposed to just a correlation to the materials, which is good. Like we're talking about, you want it to be that way where you can command the price and not just be based on, okay, I spent X materials, let me do X times blank percentage to arrive at my price. There's another
Yeah.
correlation to the value, and you get to decide
Hmm.
how much is that value worth.
So before your wife came in and helped you adjust those
Mhm.
pricing structures, is that kind of how you used to operate? Like, well, this is how much it costs. This is how much I maybe need to pay myself or, of other people that work for me. So therefore that's the price. And you weren't really factoring in the creativity or the unique
Yes.
characteristics, things like
That's
that.
right. And I was not doing the baseline work well in terms of pricing properly according to what was going into it. And
Mm,
furthermore, I was afraid to charge for shipping. I thought that people wouldn't
mm,
want to pay what it costs to ship these big pieces across the country. And the people that I was catering to at that time likely wouldn't have wanted to pay for shipping as well. But the clients today do because
mm.
they are getting, I mean, the piece that they're buying is many times more than the shipping cost. And they just want to have it. And they don't see the shipping costs so in the same way that those prior clients would see it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but after since my wife has come, we do charge for value rather than just for
Mm.
materials and labor. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, and again, I just think to people listening, it's important for us to look at from a creator standpoint and maybe even from a consumer standpoint, understanding value isn't just in the cheap
Yeah.
price. Sometimes that is your value. It's like I just need to have the pieces in the room and it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I think that's really powerful to understand, and I think it's great that you've seen that gap, that I can charge pretty much anything that I want, because at the end of the day if they don't want to pay it, I don't have to make it. And it's not like I have to. I think we tend to overcompensate too, where you might say like, well, since they're spending $50,000 on this, that means I need to go spend 40,000 on the lumber because they need to have the absolute
Hmm.
best, when in reality they just want the
Yeah.
design. And yeah, I think the shipping thing is an important point too. They know they're ordering it custom made from across the
Hmm.
country, so there's going to be an expectation. They want that to get there safely, they're willing to pay that. And so I think it's great. This is a great masterclass in understanding how to serve different audiences, and you can choose which one you want to serve, but just know if you're going to serve those, you still have to be cognizant of how do I still make this really profitable?
Exactly.
So I'm curious, because now you're catering to more of those, is there still, like, how is your business set up in terms of the recurring orders? You know, you have customers that are maybe buying less custom pieces. Is that still happening? Are you still churning out more designs in that way? And then what does it look like from hiring other people? Do you have other people building and creating for you?
Yeah. So we are in a bit of a transitional phase now. It's really fascinating, really exciting. We're doing the activities that need to be put in place to really allow this business to go to the next level. Since you asked it, I'll talk about the hiring and the people aspect. So we do have a small team, but we're nimble and we can be efficient. Currently, I have one part-time employee, and then I have two apprentices that are working with us, and then it's my wife and me.
Mhm.
And I was very slow to bring people on board. My older brother kept saying, "You got to build a team. You got to build a team." People were saying, "You need a team. You need a team." But I just wasn't seeing it. I was just seeing what was in front of me and saying, "I don't have enough dollars to justify that. I don't have enough work to justify it." But I wasn't realizing that having that team is one aspect that helps me to then generate the work that I need for that team. And I just wasn't
Mm,
seeing how that happens, but it happens because when I have a team, it frees me up to do more of the activities that are needed to make the business truly a business and not just a side hustle, not just busy work, not just another job. So,
yeah.
like right as we talk, my apprentices are working on sanding a piece. And that's something that I'm not doing right now. So I can do a task like this, which is very value added. And I could work on acquiring more clients. I can work on marketing. I can work on all these activities that are helping to build the brand. And so then as those orders come in, I give it to my team. If needed, I can expand the team. My desire is to have a, an arrangement where we have our high-end standard designs that are replicable because we have standard work, we have the CNC files, we have everything set up so my team can work on that. And then
Mm,
I can focus on both the business activities and also the craftsmanship work that really inspires me and motivates me and lights me up. So there may be one very unique piece that I want to do this with my own hands. And so my team
hmm.
is working on their other work. I'm working on this. I'm enjoying the work. The business is thriving. That's where I want to be. So I am fully embracing team, team. For those listening,
Mm.
build your team. And that has really helped us to take our next steps. Have I answered all the questions? I think there are a couple more you
Yeah, I
had.
think it kind of covered
Okay.
it, just like what it looks like now. So you're kind of still doing a blend, but the plan is let's continue to build up this base, you know, where we have the less custom things and then you can do the fun
Yeah.
part of the curation, the
Mhm.
design, and really running the business. Have you found that you love being a business owner at this point? 'Cause some people just love the craft and they don't really want to concern themselves with growing the brand and being the face of it and doing all the marketing. Have you found that's something that you are enjoying though?
I do enjoy that aspect as well, but I don't want that to be all that I do. I'd still love
Mm-hmm.
getting in here, working with my hands, making pieces. And that's part of what makes the brand valuable is that I am a craftsman in this business. So for me, it's a balance. I do love the brand building. I love things like what we're doing now, talking to people about what we do. I love the media features that we've gotten to be a part of. For example, last year, Etsy flew me down to Mexico City to be filmed in their Olympics commercial. So, yeah,
Wow.
those kind of activities I want to lean into and do more of. It helps the brand, helps to tell a story, helps to inspire others. But I also like to get in here and do the work also. But I can't just do
Mm-hmm.
the work because somebody needs to build the brand.
Yeah, somebody has to grow it and build the exposure. So you obviously that's amazing that Etsy flew you down there. So is most of your stuff still sold primarily through Etsy, or you have you branched out to your own site, your own kind of business model in that way too? Or is it all still going through Etsy?
We're currently doing both. A good number of leads come through Etsy still, which is great. We love Etsy and we get good leads and contacts through there. But we want to have some more control over incoming leads. So
Mm.
we invested in our website, revamping that several months ago, and we're seeing the traffic build on that. We're getting organic outreaches coming through that, which is very exciting. And the media, the write ups, all of those things are helping to bring people in organically. And we want to work more on local, bringing in local people because here in Asheville, our ideal clients live here. But up
Mm.
to now, most of our clients have been coming to us from the West Coast, California, Washington State, very far away, but they're also right here in our backyard. Want to lean into that more.
Yeah. What else is in the vision for the future? Like, do you see yourself ever having a brick and mortar
Mm.
space, like a store where you're actually selling the products there, or do you like just having the custom behind the scenes work?
Yes, it's interesting you asked that because we actually just did something a few days ago where we noticed that nobody has. Okay, we noticed that the name Asheville Furniture Company was available, and
Wow.
which is surprising. We thought surely someone would have that name, so we went ahead and grabbed it. And what we envision is having Crafted Glory, the Crafted Glory brand, being sold through Asheville Furniture Company locally. Perhaps
Mm.
we may expand that model outside of the area, but for the time being, we envision there's a brick and mortar Asheville Furniture Company that's selling Crafted Glory along with maybe some other brands. But Crafted Glory still is operating independently, so that's a strategic move that we're taking, and I think a brick and mortar is a good step. We also want to do more on our property. As I mentioned, we are on a little over 1 acre in just a beautiful remote setting. It's a rural setting, but it close enough to a nearby town that is very popular. And so we want
Mm.
to turn this into a hub for manufacturing, for artistry, maybe have some cabins on site where people can book stays and come and work in the studio. We have some big dreams for the property, including the brick and mortar. So definitely, those are some of the plans for the future.
Cool. That's so exciting. I love that the dream continues to grow and evolve and that you have some really big plans for the future because sometimes that can be a challenge for people who, maybe even like you admitted in the beginning, it was like, I can't see a need for a team. I can't see a need for expansion. You just see what's right in front of you. But you unlock so many doors when you continue to push that vision forward and you have a bigger thing that you're working towards and understanding it's inevitable. It's inevitably going to happen because you've locked in on it and you're going to continue to do the work. So every single piece gets you closer to
Yeah,
that next stage, that next season, and it's fun. It's exciting to
it
hear.
is.
So you mentioned earlier on in our conversation, you're uniquely qualified to speak to the fact that you built this while working a 9 to 5, while working as an
Hmm.
engineer. So, talk us through that a little bit and what that has looked like as you've continued to transition and this becoming more of the full time thing.
Yes, it's something I'm very passionate about sharing with people about that aspect because you often hear the stories of people who have already arrived and they say, well, many years ago, I struggled. All right, this happened. And now they're on the other side and they're telling you how they got there. And for most of us, it's just a big jump. It's a big, we don't, they may be telling us how to get there, but there's still a disconnect. But for me,
It's far.
yeah, I'm in it right now, making that transition, making the decisions, and it's not easy, but it is very rewarding. And for me, the
Mm.
way it has played out is I actually work second shift, so that's 3:30 p.m. till 2 a.m. And then
Wow.
um, after coming home, resting, I'm back up in the morning coming to work on Crafted Glory, my business. And I'm committed to seeing Crafted Glory really get to where we want it to be because as long as I'm working at my corporate job, I'm building someone else's legacy. There are some investors
Mhm.
somewhere way up in the clouds who are enjoying the benefits of the hard labor of everyone down below. And they are building generational wealth. They are enjoying themselves. Meanwhile, people down here in the plant are living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to make it. And so for me, I don't want that to be my life. And I also want to inspire other people around me that you don't have to, it doesn't have to be your reality forever. And so
Mhm.
I've also realized that this is my reality for now, and I need to make the most of it. You'll often hear
Mhm.
books and podcasts and everything talking about, really in a negative way, about having to work your 9 to 5, get out of it as soon as possible, and this and that, which I embrace. I want to move on as soon as I can. But what's missing is, what can you do while you're in your 9 to 5 to benefit whatever you're trying to build? And for me, what that's meant
Mhm.
is I am surrounded by manufacturing at my corporate job. And my business is a manufacturing business. So, what things can I learn over there? What things can I benchmark that will help to benefit and build the legacy that I'm trying to build? And that's an
Mm.
unlock that happened to me relatively recently, because initially I was just bemoaning the fact that I have to have the schedule. When can the floodgates open so that Crafted Glory can support me and my family full time? I wanted it to happen ASAP. But then I realized that perhaps what I was considering to be a negative is actually a blessing in disguise. I mean, this is a Fortune 500 company with great practices, great standards, and everything that I could be learning from. And they're paying me to learn it. So why don't I take
Mhm.
advantage of that while I can? And then sooner than later, that transition is going to fully happen. And when it does, I'll have all of this knowledge that I've been able to benchmark and implement in my business.
Yeah. Oh, that is such good perspective. And it is, it's a perspective shift. And I think a lot of times people don't understand the gravity of
Hmm.
that. How there's advantages and there's wins if you're looking
Yeah.
for them. They might not everybody might be in a 9 to 5 that is going to be a great learning experience or collaborative
Mhm.
thing that they can do for their business, but there's still lessons
Yes,
somewhere in there.
absolutely.
There's still some kind of leverage somewhere in what you're currently doing. There's so many books out there that talk about creating wealth, and they never say, run away from where you are and go start something completely brand new. It's usually find what already
Mhm.
exists for you where you're at, leverage the skills you have, leverage the relationships, the network. It might feel worthless to you if you're not looking for the advantage, but it really just takes that, like, change the
Mhm.
glasses, look at the life a little differently. So I love that. I think that's really powerful, especially for our listeners who might find themselves in the miserable 9 to 5 where they're like, oh, I would just do anything to get out of this. Well, would you really like look at what you have right now available to you and start leveraging that and just look at it differently? And you'll probably discover maybe even the thing that you hate at work is the problem that you're meant to solve in your
Mhm.
business. We've had a lot of
Yeah.
guests on the show that have done that. So I love that. I appreciate
Mhm.
that. And I think it can feel long, it can feel overwhelming to continue doing this while you're building something else. But that's the grit. That's what it requires to build, like you said, the people at the top, the generational
Mhm.
wealth. You have to start somewhere. And sometimes that's exactly where you are.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that perspective.
Definitely. Definitely.
Amazing. Okay, you have shared so much good value with us today. Where can people go? What's the website
Mhm.
name to check out your products? And then how can they connect with you?
Okay. Well, they can follow along with my story, my journey on Instagram. That's where you can find me most times. And that's at Crafted Glory. Crafted Glory. And also, my website is craftedglory.com. I'm also active on LinkedIn, and just
Cool.
search my name, Kwadwo Som-Pimpong. And I am glad to connect with anyone who might have further questions, who just needs some advice, or wants to buy a table, or anything at all. I'd love to connect with people, so please feel free.
Awesome. Thank you so much for everything that you've shared. It's been really fun to talk to you as a creative. I can tell that you're very passionate about what you do. Again, I've looked at the products, they do speak for themselves. And it's very evident that what we've talked about is presenting in the work that you do. So it's fun to hear the behind the scenes from a creative, and it's been great to spend this time with you.
You too, Kirsten. Thank you so much.